All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Marie Roberts. I work for Meridian Community College. We are in East Central Mississippi, so a Southern girl here, so I'm sure that you'll hear some y'alls throughout this presentation. Feel free to throw it in as well. At my current role, I'm in charge of recruiting and campus life, which is very student service heavy. I get to interact with a lot of our college fairs, interact with potential new students, as well as help program events. But I actually got my start in higher education in e-learning here at my institution. And thanks to some great mentorship and some leadership in that department, I was able to really, get some good feedback from those individuals and really kind of have this blossom into a hobby and an interest and a research emphasis of mine. So today's presentation, I'm going to be talking to you guys about this app called Vidopop. I'm in no way, I don't work for them or anything. I just thought that it was pretty cool when I've used it in my classroom where I teach orientation for our students, and as well as I've tried to implement it with a couple of our faculty as well. So we're going to kind of get started. I've gone ahead and put up a hashtag. I wasn't sure what our conference hashtag was, but I just kind of made it be fantastic 2015, so I'm excited about sharing this information with you guys today. Okay, so first things first, my goals for you today for Vidopop, I'm going to kind of tell you information about the app, some best practices that I found with the product, and then ways that you can share it. A little bit of information about the product. It's self-described as looking over your shoulder, so I compare this to if you're like a computer apps instructor or even maybe like a college algebra instructor. A lot of times we're dealing with difficult concepts that are hard for us to come across in a learning management system discussion board, and if you're teaching a hybrid or an online level course, these are things that this is just another tool or a product that you could go through and more hopefully easily explain a concept that you're trying to kind of get across. And you guys feel free to jump in and ask questions or anything throughout. I'm pretty laid back on stuff like that, so just be happy to jump in and answer questions. There is no need for expensive software or equipment with this product. It is a totally free app. On the Android Google Play Store, it's called Vidopop. If you're an iPhone user or an Apple product user, it's going to be called Free Flow, and I'll show you a screenshot of what that looks like. But if you're an iPhone iTunes user, it'll actually be Free Flow. It's produced by Vidal on both app stores, so we'll kind of check that out. So a little bit of introduction on what Vidopop is. It's an insanely fast, free video messenger system, and it's actually the biggest pros that I can say about this is that it's just as fast as sending a text message or an email to your students. There is no login, such as with Skype or with Google Hangouts, and there's also no upload time, similar to if you're going to put an instructional video like on YouTube or something. You're having to wait for that video to process. There is no lag time with this product, and you can also send video live in real time with this product as well. One of the biggest things I like about this product, for any of you Jing users that are out there, Jing unfortunately saves products into an Adobe Shockwave flash file, and those are not compatible with a lot of MP4 players without a conversion, and those are also pretty large file sizes. So one thing I like about Vidopop is that it's automatically an MP4, which makes it a little bit easier for sharing things, and again, it is a free product. The biggest pro that I can give about Vidopop is that you as the producer of these videos do have to have the app installed on your device, but in order for someone to receive this video, they do not have to have the app installed. So unlike Skype or Google Hangouts, where both parties have to have the app downloaded to their device, Vidopop is not set up that way. You can share it via text or email or just a direct link or embed it into your LMS, but there is no need to have the other person also have the app downloaded. Some specifications about the app. It is categorized as a photo and video product. It was actually, when I created this presentation, the last update that came out was January the 21st. But this past Saturday, actually on February the 2nd, they actually re-released the app into both Google Play and iTunes stores to make it a little more user-friendly. And I'll kind of talk on some of those changes today throughout this presentation. But those changes really did make it more, the functionality was a lot smoother and a lot friendlier as well. As far as size goes, it's pretty standard for an app. Vidal is the seller of the product. They have a couple other popular apps out there, but I would definitely encourage you to check them out. The free version, which is what I have, I've never paid for anything. It comes with 10 gigs of storage in the cloud. I can create lots of videos. I've got many on my account, and I haven't had run into any storage problems. If your institution was maybe looking to purchase this as far as like a distance learning department, you guys might be interested in having more storage, and I've kind of listed those prices up there for you of what that would run. As far as current ratings, as of last Saturday, it's 3.5 out of 5 stars on the Android Google Play Store and 4 out of 5 stars on the Apple iTunes iOS servers. So it's a pretty well received app. I think people like how smooth and friendly it is. It kind of reminds me of just like a really clean interface. And like I said, there's no additional login for end users. You as the producer do have to log into it. But for a free app, it's got some pretty snazzy features. These are a couple of screenshots, and I'll give those just a second to load in case there's a lag on you guys' end. But you can kind of see, starting from left to right, what the app would actually look like once downloaded onto your device. These, like I said, these are compatible with both Android and iPhone users. There's also some similar apps for BlackBerry and Windows Phone. I'll be happy to share those with you at the end if you're a user on either one of those. Our department here on recruiting side of the house, here at my institution, we've got an Office iPad that we have this downloaded to. So we can actually record recruiting videos and send those out to students who are outside of our recruiting district, and they can get them, and it can just be a quick question from a recruiter being answered regarding, our tuition or a virtual tour of our housing or something along those lines. But from an instructor side of the house, imagine this being an explanation of a complex way to do something. Our science faculty having a live dissection of an animal part or something like that. I don't know much about science, but you guys kind of hear what I'm saying. So you guys can kind of see that. As far as your sharing options go, you've actually got a lot of different options. That screenshot on the left, there are those social media aspects. You can also save it into Evernote, which is that great storage resource, and then as well as also just shoot it out in a Vidopop message for someone who does have the app, or send it via email, a direct link to someone who does not have the app. So lots of great options there. Some frequently asked questions regarding the app. It does have a connection via Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G, 4G LTE, lots of different options. You can also run it off of your departmental Wi-Fi, anything like that. Pretty high screen resolution as well. The majority of the frequently asked questions that I'm going to try to hit on, I've actually outlined and put in blue, but you're more than welcome to kind of check out all of them there. As far as storage space, a lot of our students, we are an ebook institution, so a lot of our students have devices for their electronic textbooks, and one thing that they're always complaining about is the amount of storage that those take up. So one thing that I really enjoy about Vidopop is there's actually no storage space other than the actual that's required for you to have the app, but because students do not have to have the app, it does not take up any storage. You as the first place user, I guess as the product developer or the video creator, there is no storage space housed on your device because your videos are actually stored in the cloud, unless you elect to save those videos back to your device through your camera roll or through your My Files section on your Android. It helps keep all of that storage space free on your device. As far as the live opportunities that are available there are no caps on the number of people that you can stream your video live to, and there's also no cap on how long the video can be. So for example, just as kind of like I'm showing you what the possibilities are, I'm recording myself on my cell phone do this presentation, and as I'm continuing to record myself, it's producing this video live on a hidden URL here on the internet that I could share at the end of this. That way there's no lag or there's no processing or upload time. Vidopop continuously uploads while the video is actually taking place for recording purposes. So that's kind of something kind of nifty. Some additional frequently asked questions. Like I said, how long does it take the video to be uploaded? Looks like Patrick, you've got a question. What's up? Are you just waving at me?
The fact that you're recording that now, is that why we're hearing an echo sometimes?
Probably not. That might just be something with my earphones. Let's see. Did that one make it better? Test 1, 2. Is there still an echo? We'll kind of continue on, and if you hear it again, just shoot me a wave, and I'll see if I can play with my audio settings. Okay. Sorry, Patrick. Is that echo still coming out?
No, you're good at the moment.
Okay. So as far as the question regarding the dual devices, because I'm not logged into my Vidopop account right now on this actual desktop, I don't know if they would correlate with one another as far as an echo. My cell phone is just recording it kind of propped up on a stapler here on my desk. So I guess we'll be able to see at the end of this if there's an echo on the recording version for the app that I'm running. As far as privacy and autonomy of the ownership of these videos, the videos that you create, you do retain autonomy. There is some legal question regarding when you put a video out on there on YouTube, who becomes the owner. You still retain the rights to the video, but the sharing capabilities, you might run into some privacy issues. So another pro of Vidopop is the videos cannot be downloaded, so they can only be viewed. So there's no way to export a video saved to Vidopop, say for example for a student or for a colleague who is wanting to maybe download it as an MP4 onto their desktop. That is not capable. You would actually have to be the one to provide them with that video. So there's no way. I know that there's some devices out there and some websites where you can rip a YouTube video or even from like a Vimeo account. There's no way to do that with Vidopop because they want to make sure that you retain the autonomy and the ownership of that video. And so again, the videos are private. Only you can send the videos to others unless you embed them into somewhere like a class blog or like an LMS website. And so those are the only options available there. So those are all of the frequently asked questions that are available. And you can also save those again to your camera roll or to your Android DCIM folders. As far as the collaboration opportunities with this app, they're very great. Like I said earlier, if you're teaching a class that has a very difficult concept, so for example, one of the examples that I'm going to give for any of my computer apps instructors out there, for example, on the first day, if you're wanting to showcase how to do a hanging indent in Microsoft Word, and this actually has cross application for anyone who's got to turn a paper in. When you tell a student, hey, I need you to do a 1-inch hanging indent on your works cited page, sometimes you get that look like, what did you just say? Did you just speak English? When I tell my students that, they're like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of that. And so trying to make a discussion board post with a step-by-step instructions might be a little difficult. So I'll actually show you an example of a video where I just recorded myself doing a 1-inch hanging indent in Microsoft Office so you can see how you could use this app, I guess, in the classroom. For those of you who are iTunes users, in the top portion of this screen, I've actually taken a screenshot of what that app icon would look like if you're an iTunes user, if you're going to put it on an iPad, iPhone, things like that. If you're an Android user, on the right-hand side, there's looks like kind of an ice cream cone icon. That's going to be you guys' icon to look for on the App Store to make sure that you're downloading the correct app. And they are still both produced by Vido Incorporated. Does anybody have any questions so far, any comments or things that maybe, what are some products that you've seen that might be similar to using this, or can you think of a way that you might want to use this in your classroom? Okay, feel free to interrupt if you guys have any questions or thoughts or anything. So I've actually given you guys some testimonials from my orientation class. These are traditionally first-time, full-time college students, so there's a lot of hand-holding involved here, trying to get them acclimated to campus and making them feel engaged and empowered to be successful. So for example, I actually have received a Canvas message, close to 1 a.m. on a Saturday along the lines of, hey, Ms. Roberts, I don't really understand what I'm supposed to do, or getting an email message 14 minutes before an assignment was due along the lines of, hey, I don't know how to do this, can you help? It's due in like an hour. And I want to send a response that's like, actually it's due in 14 minutes and I don't have time to tell you how to do this in the next 14 minutes so you can get it turned in and done correctly. So I've also given you a screenshot. We're a Canvas institution, so if anybody out there, fellow instructor lovers, this is actually a screenshot of the instructions that I tried to give to my students on how to do a hanging indent in Microsoft Word. And I don't have to read those out to you, but just for an example, as a reminder, you would select your text, you would click View, click Ruler to make sure your rulers are showing, and then move your hanging indent marker over to the right. And if you're not good at instructions, if you guys have ever tried to install like a TV, like usually kind of you're better off sticking your hands in it trying to make it work than reading step-by-step instructions. So I think in this case, a video tutorial would be better than a 3-click or 3-step, 3-bullet point discussion board post on how to do that hanging indent. So for example, I've given you guys a link to what that Vidopop tutorial app looks like. If you want to open it in another tab or just save it for later, this presentation is there. But it's just a little quick 1 minute. I'm holding a selfie stick. I'll explain what that is in just a second for those of you who don't know. I'm just recording me in front of my computer showing a screen of how to do a Microsoft hanging indent that I had originally made in Jing, but I was unable to transport it from an Adobe Shockwave Flash Player to an MP4. So that's how I started searching for Vidopop so I could see this, but there's that link directly for you as well. You could have just sent that out via email. I could have shared it in Canvas. I could have sent it out via text, or if you guys have a GroupMe set up with an account for student privacy, that's another great option to use. Just some different ways, I guess, that you could use the product. Now, as far as best practices, I've told you kind of what the app is and what the app does, and hopefully ways that you could actually use the app. I want to give you some of my best practices and tips for once you actually get ready to create your videos. And hopefully all of these will be ways that you can continue to make communication better with your students. I'm a firm believer that technology should never hinder or aggravate. So I only try to pick things that have actually either made my personal experiences better, or it's been a research-based proven that whatever it is, it's going to work and I can depend on it. And it's also physically responsible, because if you guys know the 15 community colleges in Mississippi, we are a consortium and we all try to be really good stewards for each of our institutions and do things cheaply but as best as possible. So this app is, because it's free, it looks really great on my budget. It doesn't hurt anything there. So big point here is if you're trying to get a message across, I want you to be able to do this clearly. So I'm a believer that having and utilizing this app or some other video communication tool in order to help predominantly your online or your hybrid students, or at least in the sense of maybe reinforce a theory or a concept that you gave in class, this would help you establish your message very clearly to your students or your colleagues, or even your faculty if you're trying to train them. If I've got any instructional designers out there, if you're trying to train them on a best practice within the LMS, having a Vidopop tutorial on how to do something that you could then save maybe on your e-learning website or within a training resource, this might be a great option for you instructional designers out there. So my best practices, I would certainly recommend that you do plan out a script of your video, kind of understand who your audience is going to be, understand the main points that you want to make. Just like when you get ready to do a discussion board, post instructions for your students, you kind of understand what you want to say, how you want to say it, and how you expect that message to be delivered. Same thing with the video, kind of understanding what the script would look like and understanding your audience. Certainly do a test run to check out the sound and image quality of your device. I can tell you the larger the device, the better the image quality. So for example, doing this on an iPad, as long as you're being steady and you're not being too shaky, your image quality would come better. As far as sound, that actually really just kind of depends on your microphone on your device. So for example, if you have a case like on your cell phone or a protective case on your iPad, just do a check on that just to make sure it's not covering up your speaker intake or your speaker output, just to make sure that you can check the sound. You obviously do want to speak loud and clear while recording, and this is not mumble town, so you want to make sure that you're being very loud and very clear. If you're like me and you say or y'all or huh in the middle of everything, you might want to start over, but don't be afraid to, because there's no limits. Because this is a cloud-based service, there's no opportunity for overuse of storage or anything like that, so feel free to start over and get a fresh start. There's no shame in starting over. And then always keep your students in mind. So how is this going to be delivered to them, or and your colleagues, and if you're those of you who'll be training or maybe using this product in-house. I always try to keep my videos pretty short and pretty brief, just because I think you might lose out. Looks like we had a hand raise. I can't see because of my screen in front of me, but let's see.
It's Veronica Maria. I just want to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Are there editing capabilities with this app?
There is not.
Or if you mess up, you always have to start all the way over?
There are no editing capabilities. You can pause recording. So, for example, if somebody, made a phone call or you needed for whatever reason pause, there's a pausing capability, so you can then resume recording. But as far as what I would consider fancy video editing, they are not here in the app, and I imagine that's because it is a free app.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Any other questions or comments so far? Okay. So I kind of gave some examples of some ways that I think maybe you could use Vidopop. Now, I directed a lot of these at faculty, but you could certainly redo these if you're not an instructional faculty, if you were, say, working in a distance learning environment or even in administration. One of the best uses that we've seen here on our campus is travel costs are getting higher and higher. If you guys know, flights are super expensive. But if we've got classes specifically in our nursing programs, in our business office technology programs, and also in our English department, we've actually hosted guest lecturers through using Vidopop, where instead of having to pay those travel costs, we were able to host a live session. We were just as easy as sending them a link and doing that live session. And it was more convenient for the visitor or the guest speaker because there was no login, for an example, in something like a Google Hangout or a Skype setup. Connecting to the school Wi-Fi was no problem at all. It was able to be supportive there. But again, that would just be one option. I like to do a weekly summary for my students on a video just because if I'm in an online class, I want them to know that I'm here for them, that they can see me, that they might recognize me if they ever came to campus one day. So I just do a quick 2-minute overview of what we're going to try to accomplish each week in the course. A great example that one of our science faculty has used, she would actually pull out examples from previous years' portfolios, and she would showcase them in a little kind of video highlight reel and show their students hey, here's what I'm expecting. This was awesome. I want you to take it a step higher and show me what you got. So kind of setting the bar with previous examples of great work. For you guys who work in a department maybe that designates lead teachers for specific courses, you could actually do a departmental collaboration where that person could either record asynchronous video diaries or even live sessions that would be great for new faculty or even adjunct faculty who are maybe accommodating themselves maybe to your institutional standards and the expectations that you have for those particular courses. And then lastly on this slide, I've also kind of implemented the idea of office hours. So you could actually host live office hours for your students or even for your colleagues. So you can get that immediate feedback. So that way it's no longer, okay, I'm in office hours, but I'm just going to answer my email for this hour. These could actually be live, useful, virtual office hours, which might be a cool concept for some of you out there to put that time to good use. I kind of told you now what the app is, how to use it, and best practices for me. So now I want to talk to you about how easy it is to share these videos and make them be really smooth and have that delivery really smooth for your students. So as far as the privacy, I've hit on a little bit of this, but again, the videos are saved to your private Vidopop account. Only you can send those videos to others. You do have the power to delete a video after you send it to someone. As I said earlier, these individuals cannot export, save, or download this video in any way so that you retain control. They can view the video again and again, but they cannot, like I said, save or export it out. Now, if you want to share it out there for the world to see, they've got some handy-dandy social media links to do a direct share on various social media accounts, including Twitter, Facebook, Instagram if it's 15 seconds or less, Vine, things like that. So there's some definite social media application uses there. And as I said earlier, you do not have to have the app to see these videos. You do have to have the app to make them, but sharing them with others, they do not have to have this app. As far as other things that you can do with the video, because we are a Canvas institution, I kind of showed you guys how to embed these videos directly into Canvas. I'm sure it's pretty similar for you Moodle or Blackboard users, but just going into an HTML content editor, Vidopop will automatically generate your HTML code and make it be a secure connection so it can be housed within a learning management system. You would just kind of go over to your HTML content editor, copy and paste the video HTML code, and it would go ahead and be available there for your students. One thing that our state does, the 15 community colleges come together in a consortium, and all of our e-learning coordinators and directors and groups, they have a resource Canvas class where they go in and post this information together. So this is just great. It's a self-paced tutorial class that can go in and get this information. So that's one way that we've used it, just kind of continuing to add that information available. And then anyone who is interested, as far as like an online instructor or a hybrid instructor, they can add themselves into the course to see these resources. So that's just another good way to see it. And then lastly, also on this slide, if you have an instructor who perhaps does a course website separate from your learning management system, or even if they have like a class blog, something along those lines, this might be a great way to just have an easy way to embed those videos, tutorials, for me, as you guys know, I'm in charge of Campus Live, so we had to kind of have some applications outside of the traditional classroom. We actually have some student organizations on our campus who will do what I would call a virtual view book of the organization. They'll take video clips of events that they're at or places that they're volunteering or activities that they host, kind of combine those into a massive highlight reel and then embed that HTML code to their website. So it almost at that point becomes like a movie trailer for their organization that they can then enter to win virtual scrapbook or virtual view book contests within the organization. A primary one being Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, which is our 2-year honor society. They actually do a virtual yearbook using this application now, and so they've got it hosted on their website. Every time they go to an event, they record something and then embed that as their highlight reel from that event. As far as the students are concerned, how could students utilize Vidopop within the classroom? I could see this working really well for recorded presentations, live group projects, doing interviews, conducting speeches, or even hosting clinicals. So if you have a clinical heavy program on your campus, having something like a nursing or a science lab, this would be a great way to record that information easily for sharing purposes, but also as well as for student collaboration. So that might be a great option. I've also spoken to our special population student coordinator here on our campus, or our ADA compliance officer. I'm sure you guys have a similar person at your institution, but students who may struggle with pen to paper assignments, or they may not do well reading text on the LMS, they could actually maybe submit these video assignments and have some alternative options for getting that feedback based on their accommodations paperwork, and you would probably want to work that out with your local ADA compliance officer, but that might just be another one to get your wheels turning maybe on how that you could use this. For facilitating small study groups, this would be a great option to break your students into themselves, or you could break them up on they could teach one another on how to do something or how to get something done. And again, there's mobile friendly here. There's no app, no download, and no storage problems for your students. So I would argue that it makes it more likely for them to use because we're not asking them to go in and download something onto their personal device to then have to do it with school. You can just share this information with them. If they don't feel the need to download the app, they can just get the information from you directly. Okay, so again, that was just pretty much like a basic overview. I've kind of given you guys, I'll go back over to the link where I've shown you the Microsoft Hanging Indent kind of tutorial video if anyone's interested in kind of handing out that link. At this point, I kind of want to open up a dialogue of best practices that you've seen for video communication tools with your students. Have you used a product similar to this? Have you ever heard of this? Or do you have another great alternative that might be a good resource to share? I know I've already mentioned Jing, so that might be another good option.
I use Jing and Screencast-O-Matic faithfully, and depending on any higher level projects, I may use Camtasia. But what I found interesting about this one, and I've never heard of it, is the fact that users can't share it. So I found that interesting.
Yes, Veronica, that's a really good point. Some of our, what I would consider more traditional, maybe old school way of thinking faculty, or they say, perhaps a little naively, I don't want to be out there on the YouTube, things like that, or, they're worried about those privacy sharing settings. This is a good alternative, simply because, if we record them, doing a dissection or something like that, they then control the power of who can see it and who they can share it with. But also just to kind of, in a smaller sense of the word, if they didn't want to share it, so that way students taking next year's science lab wouldn't have said, well, I've already seen this video on YouTube, I don't need to see it again. They can just have it as a resource for their current students and retain the access from getting it to future students. I guess I'll pose another question just to kind of see if I can get your minds thinking this direction. I think right now a lot of online learning has turned into that in a very asynchronous pace. We expect our students to log in and do the work at their own pace within a certain time frame that we've set for them. And it's very a singular learning journey. Can you see some applications either using this product or another to kind of see a change in pedagogy of how we expect our students in online or distance courses to communicate with one another or even with us? Do you think it's an expectation of faculty to jump in front of a webcam and either synchronously or asynchronously collaborate with students, or do you think that the current model is fine? Miss Meridian?
What has crossed my mind is this whole issue of student authentication and ways that we can at least have some idea that the student who's registered for the course is the student who's doing the work. And this is a way to have some synchronous communication. For example, if we have a student writing the paper, wouldn't it be great to have a 1-minute conversation or a 2-minute conversation with each student by appointment, where you ask them some salient questions about the research to confirm that yes, the student, at least if they didn't do the research, they were smart enough to have read the paper thoroughly to be able to answer the research questions, and to add that to the portfolio of things that we say we do to authenticate a student. But at the same time, we really have not significantly inconvenienced a student to show up for a proctored exam.
Yes, that is actually a great point. Utilizing, taking the mindset of maybe those virtual office hours and kind of flipping that on the coin head and saying, we want you to check in with us and have that authentication. An easy way, it's very difficult, to see that student ID and then confirm that student, but this would be a great way, and keeping it at that 1 to 2 minute time link would keep from overbearing your instructors, but it would add an additional level of security for student authentication. So that's a great point. Thank you. Miss Stephanie?
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, I'm trying to get used to being able to listen and then unmute myself and then mute myself again. So
yes, it's very difficult.
It is. I think well, anyway, I'm glad I'm not a presenter because I would be like, oh my gosh. But anyway, to Miss is it Macbeth? I'm sorry, or Dr. Macbeth? I'm not sure, but to the point that you all were just talking about, I do agree. And so it's two things that I wanted to say. I have two comments. So on the last comment, as it relates to making sure that the student is a student without doing a proctored exam, I think our campus has done or has found a great resource. I'm not sure if anyone else here uses it, but it's called ProctorU.
Oh my gosh, I'm a big fan.
This is my first semester using it. I've only been, I guess this is my third semester here, and so this will be my first time using it. And I think it's just an awesome way to not inconvenience the student, but give them a proctored exam and confirm that they are truly who they are taking the class. Because with it, you cannot cheat the system. For example, you cannot have your cousin take your exam because they have to have their driver's license, and then they ask them questions. I forgot how they get the information, but I think it's from public records. So if you've lived wherever, or if you had a certain whatever the case may be, they pull it from public records, and so really it's things that only that person would know. So they have a very good validation system. So that was my one point to say. If the institution has not tried ProctorU, I think that's a great way to make sure that the student is the actual one that's taking the course. And then on the other side, as it relates to this discussion of adding in some synchronous pieces into online courses, I have not done this because I haven't had the time right now to build it in, but I do think that for those that because I have a lot of students on our campus say, this class, I really need it, and it's only offered online, and I really want a face-to-face class. I think that for those, situations where, whatever the reason, the administration has decided that, this one is going to be offered online, and, it's tough luck if you want to take it face-to-face, if the instructor can build in for those students who want and crave that face-to-face atmosphere, some synchronous things through Vidopop or other avenues, And so I have thought about maybe doing like a 10 p.m. session because, everybody has all these different schedules and it would be just for those who would want to. And then, of course, it would be recorded for later use. But seeing how many would actually, take the time to come to it or whatever. So I'm trying to think of some creative ways to build in some synchronous pieces for those purposes.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. For any of you guys who are not familiar with ProctorU, our institution has also implemented it as a consortium. So all of the community colleges in the state used it. Instead of us using the public record side of the house, what we require is when you connect to your webcam, you show them your student ID, which all students get regardless of whether they're a distance ed student or an on-campus student. You show your student ID first. You validate your student ID. You validate, I believe, your current class schedule, and then you also go in and show your driver's license as a secondary identification system, and then they go through and kind of check to make sure that the safety is there. So we're big fans of ProctorU. And then additionally, one thing that Stephanie pointed out was, that synchronous format. I'll throw this idea out for you guys. We are a very career tech heavy institution. We have 52 career and technical education programs, one of which is welding. Welding is a big thing down here. Our average welder can actually come out making more than the average master's graduate level professional. So our welding program is full every semester, and it's a daytime, full-time program, and so it's very difficult for students who are maybe working to try to get into it. So one thing I pitched to our Dean of Academic Affairs over the CTE side of the house would be to, I said this earlier about the selfie stick. A selfie stick is pretty much just it's like a reverse walking cane. So you hold it above you. You buy it specific to your device. You attach your device to it, and then you can record an actual more full body scope instead of just taking like a selfie with your arm out, 2.5 feet of range. A selfie stick allots you approximately 6 to 8 feet of range, and they're like usually $20 or $25 depending on your device. I actually recommended that our welding instructor, we can actually equip him with what I would call almost like a head cam or a selfie cam, where he can record himself in lecture and in lab doing welding concepts and theory. And what we could do is we could actually make our welding program then become a hybrid program where our students can watch these the lectures. They can either tune in synchronously, or we can record them for later, and then they would come in and do a lab practical where they would then showcase the skills. So for example, currently our welding program is a 5-day-a-week program. We could then change it to where the students would watch these tutorials 3 days a week. One night a week they would come in and practice their lab clinical skills, such as a welding technique or a safety protocol. And then the following evening, they would come in for a check-off with their instructor to verify they have mastered that concept. And that's for a very specific case of welding, but this would just be another way that we could use this service, or at least video application in general, to either help diversify our availability and offerings for our working students who cannot come during the day, but also maintain that integrity of we're not graduating someone with a welding certificate who's never actually held, a blowtorch. So I guess one of my final questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Miss Meridian.
I have an off-topic but on-point question. You said that your distance learning students have to produce their student ID.
Correct.
How do students who are outside of your campus area get that ID? I'm just curious.
We have a couple of different options available. If they would like to attend a new student orientation, they can actually just set up an individual appointment, and we will orient them to campus prior to the semester starting, where they can have their ID made that day. If they are a student who has absolutely no intention of coming to our campus, we work out a one-on-one opportunity where students can upload a photo of their driver's license, as well as a secondary photo that will be placed on the ID. That way we can then mail them their student ID so they actually have that hard copy, because that allows them some additional resources, such as search engines on our library website. They use that information. There's some, working out at our facility, but if they're not coming to campus, we want them to go ahead and have a hard copy of their student ID on hand, because it makes them feel a part of campus and know that they're a part of the MCC family, even if they don't step foot on our campus on a regular basis.
That's great, because I think one of the big disconnects we have is the fact that so many of our on-campus students do take distance learning classes that it's so easy to forget about the distant students who are truly distant, and they don't get the advantage of a lot of the options and services that we make easily available to our on-campus students.
And that's a great point. I think actually it predates me regarding in this role, but I think it's important, and this is maybe a trivial thought process, but there's a lot of discounts and perks out there available to students, and I would never want a student, specifically a distant student who took the time to select us as their institution, to feel like they were being left out of an opportunity not having their student ID. So whatever we pay in postage, we make up for in personalized hospitality is kind of my opinion on that, and I think that that's worked out well. Our campus to police department work very well with our students, specifically our distance students, just to make sure, even though you're not on our campus using our traditional campus resources, we're available for you. And a lot of our nighttime advisors have moved into keeping, like I said, these virtual office hours, so that way the distance ed students know that they're available for them. I guess I'll pose just maybe one more thought process to get some feedback from you guys. Fortunately, I work with our 15 Community College Consortium to conduct training sessions where we use everything from such as Blackboard Collaborate to web conferencing within Canvas, LMS. We've also done some Skype and some Google Hangouts there. It's worked well for us as professionals because I think working in higher ed e-learning specifically, we are a little more tech savvy than the average student. One of the things that we struggle with our students is they say that they're tech savvy because they know how to tweet, they know how to upload a video, they know how to post something to Facebook, but when you actually get down to the core of it, they are not the most technologically savvy students in regards to traditional computer function. So do you guys think that there are some resources out there? Do you guys think there are some resources out there that, or some things that you guys have done to make students feel more comfortable with embracing, hopefully, technology that's helpful and beneficial to them without them kind of being scared away? I know ebooks for us was a big one, trying to get students on board with the idea of you're not going to hold a real book, you're going to download your book on up to 4 devices, and we're going to help you, get to it. Do you guys have any concerns or feedback or even success stories of ways that you've used cool communication tools? Veronica?
Typically, I deal with online instruction, and when a faculty member is implementing a new tool in that course, and by following the Quality Matters rubric, we have the students do an introductory assignment in the discussion board, just introducing themselves. What I tend to do when a new tool is introduced is have an activity in their introductions assignment using that tool, so that at the beginning of class they're using this new tool so that they get acclimated to its use before they get to the first assignment that they have to do using that tool. So if there are any hiccups or technical issues, they're ironed out at the very beginning of class and not right before they have to use it to do the assignment. So depending on what the tool is, it may incorporate rich instructions, whether it be a tutorial handout with pictures and text and or video, or a link to the help frequently asked questions page of that tool, depending on what it is. So I've seen a lot of success with that method over the years, and it's worked well.
That's really great because you're able to hopefully troubleshoot a lot of those major problems before it gets down to the wire on any type of assignment or anything.
Exactly, and that eliminates the excuse, I didn't know how to use it when they get ready to do the assignment.
Right. That's really true. One of the things that our e-learning department right now is considering, we're working on a new, what I would consider like first day checklist that all distance education courses have to meet prior to publishing that course for students on that first day. One of which is a faculty welcome, and I believe that they gave a little bit of autonomy and freedom in how they actually did that welcome, but I did think that they asked for some form of multimedia regarding, even if it was just a link to the instructor's favorite song or a picture of their pet or just something to make the students feel more than I'm not just text on a page, I'm a person on the other side of this computer screen. So I think a lot of our instructors have used either Vidopop, or maybe they've created an Animoto video of themselves, or they've recorded themselves on Jing. Lots of different resources to welcome them. So for me personally, I hate the sound of my voice recorded. I would much rather you be focusing on my face on a webcam than I would on my voice. But so I try to go through and do like fun pictures and kind of make those into a collage video, maybe with a cool song or something, because I think that I sound like a dying duck on recorded audio devices. But hopefully you guys maybe don't hear the same thing I hear. So
We are our worst critics. I feel the same way.
I love it. I love it. Well, does anybody else have any questions or comments, or maybe ways that they think that they can use this? I think I've tried to give you guys a general overview of the product, maybe different ways that you could use it. And I'm going to stick around for questions or comments or just general dialogue. But thank you guys so much for being here, and I really appreciate everything.